Today I'm joined by Nadja Schnetzler, creative entrepreneur, innovator and co-founder of BrainStore, the world's first idea factory. After leading thousands of projects there, Nadja shifted her focus to purpose and meaningful collaboration, helping teams and organizations create real impact by working together differently. Most recently, she has published Collaboration in Flow, a book that distills decades of experience into practical ways to unlock human potential. In our conversation, we trace her journey from student magazines to pioneering innovation, explore the principles that guided her as a parent to two creative children, Nemo and Ella, and ask how collaboration, purpose, and individuality can thrive in an age increasingly shaped by AI. I wanted to talk about the very beginning. I remember the very first project. You were 17 with
BrainStore? Yeah,
17.
That's true. Oh, you want to start in the very, very beginning? Okay.
Well, because I think from the very beginning you did something really, really different, and it kind of defines you. And I'm curious to see how you see that beginning in view of who you've become, and
What a great question. I think what really is the common denominator, I guess, is curiosity. Like being really, really curious about many things and being kind of thirsty or hungry for knowledge and new things that emerge. And so it was very attractive for me to start up this organization that my partner Marcus wanted to create to stimulate creativity and to find ideas for real problems that organizations, companies, people have, and help them solve those problems. So I think I couldn't have had a better start into my professional life than with that. And many people who worked at BrainStore, if that there is one thing that everybody has in their narrative, is like, this was a school for life. I learned about how to approach problems, how to bring people together, how to set up creative spaces, how to, have grit to follow up with something that maybe doesn't work the first time. So yeah, that's what it was for us, a real school, maybe. Yeah, a real school where people can just experiment.
I love that, because I think that's what school should be. And sometimes I think it's more valuable to do what you did than to sometimes go to university. So you're 17. Marcus is not that much older.
No, 5 years older than I am. So yeah, we're very young.
Can you maybe just explain what it is? Because a lot of people watch this don't know, and it's very unique.
So we didn't start out exactly with that idea. We started out, which was also a very creative idea, with an organization that searched for advertising for school newspapers. So young people between 15 and 20 made newspapers in school, still printed newspapers. Like this seems very, very old now. Today it would probably be a blog or some kind of social media channel, but it was newspapers, and there were like 400 in Switzerland. And we started with just looking for advertising for these school newspapers because we believed in journalism, and we loved that young people made their own newspapers, but they needed money to make it better. And very soon, we realized that the real potential is bringing those young editors of these school newspapers together with the people who brought them the advertising, because the young people didn't like the advertising very much. They said, like, this really spoils our newspaper, this stuff that you are advertising for. So we started doing workshops where editors and marketing people or people from companies came together and created that advertising together. And there, the nucleus of, oh, wow, when you bring different people together, really cool ideas emerge was born. And from there, we started creating an organization called BrainStore, that is a place where you can go and you can order an idea. You can go and say, like, I need an idea for a new Lindt chocolate product. What could our next chocolate be? And we would bring together people and have a process to come up with ideas and to filter them and to come up with maybe 10 really cool ideas for the next chocolate product, for instance. And so it was just very playful, you know, it was very exciting to work for all these organizations all over the world. We were deemed absolutely insane. Like, who asks for money for an idea? And people told us this will never work, but it really worked really well for a long time.
For a long time, and you had huge clients. You did some very, very big projects.
Yeah, and it still exists. It doesn't exist as a company anymore, but now it exists as a network of innovation entrepreneurs that Marcus is, you know, organizing, and he has like 35 partners all over the world who work with the BrainStore method. So it's really, really cool. It has evolved as well, like everything else.
It's really interesting because having ideas is something so terribly human.
Yeah, and also having ideas, you never have them when you need them, right? When you really need one, it's really hard.
Yes,
So
yes.
how do you organize it so there's a systematic behind it? You can rely on BrainStore to really come up with ideas with you, together with you. Mm.
Down the road, today you're focusing on purpose. That's your big the topic that is close to your heart, and that's what you focus on. And you help individuals and organizations uncover their purpose. So how did your journey in this field begin, and how did you go from BrainStore to this, and what has guided your vision along the way?
Yeah, actually, there were quite many different stages in between. And also, since we focused so much on purpose, we have already evolved again, which will not be surprising to you. So we got really interested in purpose in 2018 when we went away from a startup. When I say we, I mean Laurent and I, who do a lot of things together. We went away from Republic, a startup we founded, a media startup we founded. And we were looking for our next project because it was clear for us that we want to do things together. We just enjoy each other so much and doing things together. And we went away for like a little retreat and thought about what could be the next thing. And we realized that while the company we founded had a really strong purpose, which is creating a journalism product that is paid only by the readers, so to give the electorate in Switzerland really good information in the voting booth, unfiltered and uninfluenced by advertisers. Look at me talking about advertising first and now about not wanting advertising.
That's the story. That's what's interesting.
That's interesting. So we really wanted an independent magazine, and this had a very strong purpose, this organization. And at the same time, the team, the people working there, we realized that there was, in this startup environment, people were very insecure. It's a little bit like a Shark Tank, you know? So everybody tries to bring in their ideas and we have to do it this way. And I'm a journalist, I know better, or I'm a tech person, I know better. So there was a lot of conflict that we thought it's really not necessary. Why is this happening? And we had the hypothesis that yes, it's great to have a strong purpose in the organization, but what about the purpose of the people? What about, you know, the founder who starts the company doesn't have the same purpose than the person who comes in after 2 years. For them, it's maybe a job and their purpose is their family or whatever. And we wanted to understand how we could make these purposes of people explicit. Because if the founder knew that the person who comes in 2 years later, for them, the center of their life is somewhere else, but they still can do a very amazing job for the purpose of this company, but it's a different quality, then we wouldn't have these clashes. Because we always assume, I think, as people, that others have a similar purpose. And so we got really curious about how can you even develop a purpose with a person? How does that work? And how does it help a person? And so this was our next research project, and we were able to do it largely thanks to you, because you opened up your school for us to, you know, test our first ideas, and that was just so amazing.
It was amazing because you tested it on so different time. I mean, it's a very specific environment, a school, so you tested it on adults, on parents, on children,
Yeah.
And that was wonderful. And some of the children you worked with, they actually came up with a game with you, no? Didn't they?
Exactly, that's true. The first process we did with high school students, I think, and they really reflected back to us what we did, which was so amazing to learn, to hear like what did you experience and what did we do well and what could we do better. So we really learned a lot from them. And then the younger children, of course, got very curious and said, we want to do it also, but this is boring the way you do it. It's like sitting down and talking and writing. How boring is that? And we said, how can we make it exciting? And they said, let's do a game. And we created a game called Mount Purpose. They actually created it. And it was exactly the same process, but it was packaged in game form. First we go to this place on the base of the mountain, and then we collect some stuff to walk up, and in the end you had your purpose and you could fly down the mountain. And it was so beautiful how they were really coming alive when they were able to package that process into a game.
And also the discovery of their purpose was really meaningful. It was actually interesting to me to see that it impacted everybody, of course, but it really impacted the children. Because they're still in that, whatever they're still in this process of discovering themselves and creating themselves. And for them, it was incredible. And for me as an because you were saying earlier on, as an entrepreneur, you're driven by your vision. And sometimes you forget that it's your vision, and that people who work with you, even if they jump on the boat and they're, wonderful, it's not their vision, and not their purpose, as you say.
The source. It's always important to respect the source of something, I guess.
Exactly.
I also learned. I always love to go into other environments to learn also how limited our own ideas are. For instance, because your school is in Sarajevo, and we in Switzerland are so used to this individualistic view of, I and my purpose, and I do what I want. I mean, of course, not everybody can do it as lightly as I describe it, but in Sarajevo, often the younger students, the high school students, were like, oh, I can decide about my purpose. That sounds tricky to me. My parents tell me, what to do in life. There's still a different culture. And to navigate that, like, oh, I'm an individual, but I'm also part of a community. And how do I navigate that? It was really interesting learning for me.
So that's the beginning of the purpose. You said it's changed a lot since then. So where did that take you?
So even when we talked about purpose, what we are really interested in, Laurent and I've been interested in this for, I think, since my childhood, is collaboration. Like, how do they organize to get something done, to implement their vision, to make their purpose happen? And I think most of the things we do in life, we can't do them alone, but we're also not very good at doing them together often, or we have unlearned. I think we have unlearned how to do things together. So we're really, really, really interested in collaboration, and purpose is still a very important part of that, obviously. But what we're focusing on right now is the word flow, or the idea of flow, because we realized if you talk about collaboration, for everybody, it means something different, obviously. And people think that collaboration is something really complicated. You need to know a lot of things. You need to have a lot of recipes, a lot of tools. And it's actually not. It's more about attitude. It's more about, what can you do when you're stuck, when you don't have flow? What can you do so that humans can interact and do things together? So we created this idea of flow, that when you have flow as an individual, but also as a team and as an organization, then things progress, things get finished, things move forward. And so many people do not experience that in their work. We experience being stuck most of the time at work. So this idea really captured people's imagination, and they could really relate to it very quickly.
And what type of organizations have been interested in how do you work? How do you help organizations?
The cool thing is we started with this in 2019. And then when we really got started, when we had our first clients for this topic, we ran into COVID, right? So there was COVID, and we were like, what are we going to do? Someone booked 20 workshops, on-site workshops, and we were like, what are we going to do? And we told this client, why don't we just do it online? And we had no clue how to do that, but we figured it out. And since then, we have been able to do really large projects thanks to being able to work online. So we work with organizations who have like 500 people or more, and we really include everybody, because flow is something that everybody needs to experience. And if you can do town hall meetings with 500 people and then do experiments in smaller teams, then everybody has the same language, the same idea. So our clients are so different. Like, this is probably like at BrainStore, we have a very, very typical office organization, like the unemployment office of one big state in Switzerland, 500 people. We have psychiatric clinic who has 250 people, where it's really interesting because there's so many different people, almost like in at Bloom. You work with the janitors and the people that lead the hotel, the people who are nurses, the doctors, the office people. So there it's even more interesting because it's tricky. Someone who works in the kitchen has completely different needs for flow than someone who works in the office. Or, for instance, architecture office, like an architecture practice with 25 people who are so surprised that young Gen Z people who come into the organization are not seeing architecture anymore as this kind of vocation where you put your whole self in 24/7. But it's like, what? You want me to work after 6 p.m.? Are you crazy? So how to navigate that and how to find new agreements and also ways to include everybody was really interesting. So these are just 3 examples.
What's really interesting, what you do is you have the common goal, which is purpose, flow, and everything. But the environments are so different that the problematics are very different, and the type
very different. Yeah, but it's interesting for us. It keeps us really on our feet, which I always find the most interesting thing, because then you do something and you realize, this doesn't work, and where did we try it in a different way, and what could we try out? So we're really experimentalists. We try out different things, and what works sticks, and what doesn't work gets discarded, and we move on and try again.
Forever evolving. So exactly. If that's something that's forever evolving, how do you write a book about what you do? Because you have written a wonderful book that was published 2 years ago?
No, a year ago in October. Yeah, last year. So there's the German version is the original, and then there's an English translation now. It was really important for us to find a way to cook down our knowledge, which is very extensive and vast and too complex to, try out yourself, and to cook it down into something that anyone can use. So we have 10 flow tools, we call them. Obviously, we have many more, but we decided on these 10 that really help every team to try out some things that help them have more flow as a group. And it was really demanding, first of all, to decide which 10. We were like, we couldn't let go of many ideas, and we're simplifying, and always mourning the things we had to cut out. But I'm very proud that we were really able to select 10 powerful tools. And then the next challenge was, it wasn't so much a challenge to then define what should be in the book as a kind of description, but writing it together. That was a real challenge. That was really interesting to see how we got to our limitations of our own collaboration. It was really, really nice exercise.
Implementing flow between you was
exactly. Exactly that. It was really, we needed many loops, many different iterations to come to a process that really fit both our needs. And that was really interesting and sometimes really painful. We were laughing and crying, and sometimes crying for laughing and laughing for crying. It was really, it was also such a, we already worked together for so long, have such a deep trust, but there was really still a team building exercise. It was really cool.
What would you say, what is your greatest learning from this process, this flow methodology what is it?
I think that the biggest learning for me is that it's not that difficult to find kind of almost a hack, a hack for your topic. So we were really for years and years, we were talking about excellent collaboration, and we were never able to put the finger on it. What does that mean? And if we had written a book about excellent collaboration, it would have been a really boring and very hard to read book, I guess. So finding this idea of flow, it's kind of like a hack. It's like, oh, you just look for the flow. If something is stuck, how can you make it a little bit unstuck? If you feel this is not working for me, how do you voice that in your team? If something is not clear, how do you get clarity? How do you include everybody into your process? And all these things that are important to us, it's with the idea of flow there get easier to be told, to be explained. So I think that's the biggest learning for me, that it's not obvious that you find that hack, but it's really the simplification, the cooking it down to one concept is really helpful.
So you say you're always in motion and going to something new. What's after flow? Are you still very much in the flow business?
Yeah, as long as there is not another need, it's all right. And I think at the moment this is really helpful. No, it's not true. You're already onto our next thing.
I knew it.
Actually, we're in the process of writing our next book. I mean, not writing, we're still working on the basic idea. And we wanted to get away from this kind of recipe, here are the 10 tools, which is really cool for everyday people. And for many people, also for executives, etc. It's really helpful. But we wanted to go like on a different flight level again and create a book. Like if we want to encourage people that if they start something new, or if they change positions, or if they, build something from scratch, whether it's a school or a business or a department, that they think about how to structure that there is more flow in there. So not so much on the collaboration level only, but also on the structural, systemic level, if you want. And we are calling it playing ping pong with reality, because I think it's really about not having a fixed plan, but about being flexible and agile and trying out things and staying on your feet. So that's what we're doing at the moment, but it will still be very much in this family of flow, or in this idea of flow.
Nadja, I've always found you very inspiring as a person. Both you and Laurent are incredible. I get bored quickly, and I'm fascinated when I'm around you because you're so multidimensional, and you have your creativity, your innovation. You live it. I mean, you're that kind of person, and I love the different aspects of you so much. It really inspires me every time I talk to you. So there's the person who brought purpose to Bloom and BrainStore, by the way. BrainStore, you also.
Oh, true, yeah.
You brought purpose to Bloom. I read your book about the flow methodology, but we've also had very deep conversations about children.
Yeah.
Also a mother. And when we first met, your children were teenagers. And so, I'm a Montessori educator, and I was and you're not. And the way you talked about how you raised your children, you were sharing some more personal things about the situations your children were going through and everything. And I was really, really fascinated, because the way you were handling these situations was so very Montessorian, and it goes so much with the way you are as a person and the way you work. And I'm not surprised that both your children are so creative and both so successful as a result, because you were really focusing on their individualities, on their independence, on their freedom. I'm sure you were also very strong on discussing with them and talking about the world. And so it was very interesting to witness the little moments I witnessed. So now that Nemo and Ella have achieved such incredible success, one is a singer and performer, a very successful one. He won the Eurovision contest and performed again this year, I think.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
It's one behind him. And Ella is a photographer. So what do you think, what guided you as a parent? Did you just go with your instinct, or to nurture their individuality and their talent?
Yeah, I think I thought a lot about that in the past few years, because a lot of people ask me these questions. And I think I really, or we both, I mean, we're two parents, we both went about intuitively first. and then, of course, we ran into society and people were kind of mirroring to us that we were doing things very strange. And then I started reflecting on, what I mean, for me, it's not strange. For me, it's natural. So what is it that people notice about my parenting or maybe our parenting? It was very congruent in many ways, but we're also two individuals as parents, obviously. So my name for my parenting style, I call it hands-off parenting, which a lot of people misunderstand as laissez-faire kind of. It's not at all that. It's really this, it embodies for me the trust that I am not this person. I am not my child. This is another person. This is an individual. And they have to figure out their own path, their own way. And who am I to, get in the way of that? And I realized, because I wrote in German a blog about it, and it has been compiled into some kind of little compilation on a website for parents.
I didn't know that. I would like. Would you send it?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. You have to translate it, of course, because it's German. But yeah, I call it hands-off parenting, and I have written about many instances of being a hands-off parent, like when it comes to school, when it comes to clothing, when it comes to identity, which is very important in my adult children, and reflecting about what it means to me to be a hands-off parent. And it comes really down to just realizing that I'm not my child, and I'm not here to realize myself in my child. I'm here to guide, support, accompany. I think guide is already too much. To accompany and to encourage that what is there in the child. And obviously that was many different things over their upbringing, and always trusting that, okay, you're interested in this now, so let's support you in doing what you're interested in, which is, I think, what you meant is very Montessorian, and not being fixated on, is this gonna work when you're an adult? No, you're interested in this now. You're interested in dinosaurs, so let's really dig into dinosaurs, because I think that's also that's a very not boring way for me to be a parent, not to really follow the child and learn what are you interested in and making it an adventure. So yeah, I think that was maybe the guiding principle for me.
You talk a lot about trust, but I was really sometimes fascinated to see that. I really had the impression you were not anxious. You really felt that trust for your children. You gave them that trust. Is that true? Or did you have moments where you were like, oh, am I doing the right thing or not? Or do I get it? Or did I? Yeah.
The good thing is, I think I didn't have time to overthink things. So I really went with the gut feeling. And I think in German, we have a word, it's really not translatable. I say it in German first. It's Urvertrauen, like ancient trust, like trust that comes from maybe not even myself, but from my ancestors, like this kind of real belief that things are going to be okay. And I can't, if my intentions are all right, yes, I will mess it up, but I will mess it up not worse than, other people do. So I had trust in myself, or also didn't have, also, I think, 20 years ago or 15 years ago, 10 years ago, we didn't have the social media we have today. So I realize now, for instance, with my daughter who has a baby now, she says, like, I really need to, I struggle with all this information, and I need to tell myself, what's your gut feeling? What's your intuition? Instead of reading all these, thousands of things you should do, you shouldn't do. It's really overwhelming. So I didn't have that either. I was just like, well, let's just do it. And I think that a certain naivete as well, which I think can be good. Yeah.
Because in our time there were books. I remember I had friends. They had read every single book on raising children and this and that. And I read one page. It made me anxious. I closed it, followed my gut feeling. So it's also your character, no?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I just I just went with it. I got pregnant, not by planning, but I got pregnant and then I was like, oh, I'm pregnant. Okay, so let's do that now. That seems to be the thing we're doing now. So let's do that. And I was also anxious in certain moments, for instance, always at these transition moments, like, going to the daycare the first time, going to the kindergarten, going to first grade. And already after kindergarten, I told myself, it's not helping me to be anxious. It will turn out differently anyway. I can imagine all these things that I don't know and that might happen, but it's not healthy for me. So I stopped worrying and I just went with the flow. So I think that is also in my character, probably. Yeah.
Was it difficult because you don't have a routine job and a routine life? So was it difficult to balance out,
Yeah.
the and what you do? Okay.
I think any parent, especially, unfortunately, mothers still mostly, everyone who tells you you can have it all and it's easy, you can maybe have it all, but it's certainly not easy, especially not in Switzerland. We are very conservative. So, parents like me who work full time and are proud of their achievements and still today is like, you're working full time? I mean, this is what my daughter, she's not working right now, of course, but she will eventually, probably. And people will tell her, why do you have children if you want to work? This is still very much the attitude in Switzerland. So it wasn't easy. And I had a lot of help. I'm so privileged to have had so much help. I mean, I built my own daycare. I also would be very reluctant today to put a small child in, the big daycare systems we have in Switzerland. This is not a great place to be as a baby or a toddler. But I built my own daycare in my own company because there was nothing. And I just imagined it and I created it in a way that I wanted it to have. So there were at peak times, there were maybe 8 children. So it was like a big family. So we didn't have the problems that would maybe today make me reluctant to put a child into daycare. I just created it, or we created it together, and it was awesome. I mean, my children still talk about the mini brains and where they learned English there, and they had a great time. So, yeah.
So that's why I created my school at the beginning.
Yeah, I really had the best people there. I mean, I think my children, if you say my children are great because of me, I don't think that's true at all. I mean, certainly I played also a big role, but their first, their environment from their first days on were just amazing people. So I'm grateful to Peggy and to Kate and to other people who were always in the surrounding my children and working with them.
I imagine it must have been a very interesting environment for them to be in too as educators, because it was not your everyday daycare.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and they were able to also, fill it with meaning and purpose in the way they liked it. And the nicest thing about the daycare was that it was really integrated in the organization. So people who worked at BrainStore went to the mini brains for lunch, or if they had to have a cry, or if they were stuck somewhere, they went there and they played Lego with the kids, or they had a talk with the daycare staff. And it was a kind of mental health place for people. So that was really nice.
I'm not aware being with kids is healing. It's absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
If we get back to to all your experience as a mother, as an entrepreneur and everything, what do you think is finally the key to unlocking human potential?
I read that question and I thought I'm going to answer spontaneously. And now, of course, I don't have a good answer. I think it comes down to being human and to being in community. I think we can't do anything alone, and we really have to figure out how to do things together, how to support each other, how to see the potential in each other and help, strengthen the strengths and not pay so much attention to the weaknesses. But what we do is we pay a lot of attention to the weaknesses. We're very isolated in society and also in the workplace. We believe that, I can make a career. It's just not true. We need each other to thrive. I'd say that is for me. And I also was not aware of that maybe 10 years ago, how not everything can be done with a tool or process structure. These things are important. but they can only support the humanness that we have. So how we speak with each other, how non-violent we are with each other, how we achieve a workplace that is, human, where we can thrive as people and not just as parts in a machine.
I love that. I'm letting it sit with me. That humanness is defined by being human to each other with all the values behind. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Creativity, collaboration, humanity. And how does that look now in the context of this thing that everybody's scared about called AI, that is at the same time incredibly exciting and at the same time quite terrifying?
Yeah. I don't have the definitive answer as well here. I guess nobody has. There's a few thoughts I have, and they're not necessarily connected. One thing that I think is like, humans are always scared of technology, and always technology can be amazing and horrible. So each step in humankind where we evolve can be used for good and for bad. And it's up to us, all of us, to, choose the good, which is, things are not going well right now. But
that's not due to technology, it's due to humans.
Yeah, but to humans misusing their resources, and AI is a resource like anything else, and I think it's up to us to use it in wise ways. And if we have a purpose, and if we have a clear vision and what we want to do, and we put our brains into that, technology can be super helpful to enhance it, to make it even better, to, maybe find the loopholes, or the things that don't work in our concepts. I always tell people who ask me, like, how do you use AI? I say, first, I have a reflection as a person. And then I might check the potential of this with AI. I might ask AI, hey, am I missing something here? Do you have another idea? I can also ask other people that, and I prefer to do that if I have the time. But for such things, like, how can I improve this? What did I miss? What other questions would you ask in this workshop? All this stuff is really cool because it helps enhance my own thoughts. But if I use AI to ask it every question, like to make my life easier, I think that's boring first, and I think it diminishes the human creativity that goes into things. So that's how I approach AI, with curiosity, and also with, did I think myself in this process, or did I let a machine do the thinking, which of course it doesn't think, it just compiles information, and it presents it in a very interesting form. It's not just a Google search. So I can see many, many benefits. And I think we should be using our own creativity and our own brains first before relying on machines.
I also think that maybe we should also remember that imperfection is part of the human process.
Yeah.
I catch myself sometimes going systematically for an email to being corrected by ChatGPT just because it goes easier and everything. I think sometimes just leave the mistakes and leave the awkwardness, because that's what makes you human, that's what makes you you.
Yeah, I like that very much. And I think it really depends, like this really important email, that crucial negotiation point. Yeah, maybe there you want to really do several checks, and also let technology say, like, hey, is this grammatically correct? But if you write an email to a friend, why would you want to use that? Why would you want to just put yourself in it, and exactly with the imperfections you have? I totally agree with that.
We go so quick sometimes. I realize that I don't make enough effort anymore when I write a message, because the important ones are read by, improved by technology, and the other ones I thought, oh no, then it's taking the time to do things like we used to do them.
Yeah, that's true. And I think, like, in our collaboration that Laurent and I have, we take a lot of care with emails, and we try to make them as human and personal, as funny and light-hearted as possible, and add an emoji here and an image there. And I think it's so nice. You really can, I think people can feel, oh, they really took care in doing that. And if then in the end you still let ChatGPT say, like, what could we be missing, or is there a comma mistake? Okay, that's fine. But normally one person writes it, the other checks it. That's already enough.
You're talking about supporting individuality in your children and their independence and their freedom and trusting that they're on their path and just supporting. So Nemo's non-binary identity is a key part of their story. So how did you approach supporting their individuality and helping them navigate the world authentically? I mean, because there's...
I think as a child, that was just my go-to. It was normal for me to support individuality and their interests, what they were interested in. So that was not difficult. And if anything, I think Nemo taught me now more than I can teach them, because they showed me who they are as a non-binary person. Using they, them pronouns, for instance, is one thing that I learned. But also like, how to navigate reality or society or life when you're different, when you're perceived as different, because everybody is different, when you are so much under scrutiny by people, and how to navigate that gracefully, with humor, with grace as well, towards people who don't understand it. I think I've learned more from Nemo than they have learned from me in the end.
I learn from Nemo when I see it so much about authenticity, because he's so authentic.
Yeah, they really are. I think what I learned from Nemo is that being unapologetically yourself is always the best way to be, because people can really see that this is really this person, this quirkiness, this individuality, this navigating, how to be in the world, how to present yourself each day differently. I just love that. I wish more people were like that, because I believe that this is a way to be in our society. Takes courage, but I think more people would be like that if that would be allowed. Today I feel like a girl, so I go out as a girl. And today I want to go out in jeans and in a hoodie, and I want to be more manly. I love that. It's like, aren't we all sometimes a little bit like that? I'm not saying we're all non-binary, but we all have a spectrum of how we want to be in the world. And to show more of that spectrum, I think that's beautiful. More aliveness, more authenticity. I would really encourage that in everyone.
It's the exploration of self too.
Yeah. And I went and visited Nemo in Paris. They now live in Paris, and I spent 2 days with them. But spending 2 days with Nemo is like spending 2 weeks with another person, because every 5 minutes there is a new idea. They're like a child. They're like 26, but it's a big child. Like, there's an art supply shop. Let's buy art supplies and do an art challenge. Let's go home and paint a painting, both of us, and then we go out and show it to people and ask, which one do you like best? It's so nice to be around someone who's really a child, but also an accomplished adult at the same time. I just enjoy that so much.
Do you see yourself in any of your children?
Yeah, I mean, I see myself in both certain traits.
They're very different.
They're very different. I think Ella has many characteristics that I don't have. She's very structured and orderly, and a real Virgo. But there are other traits that are very, very that I have as well, and with Nemo as well. This need for variety and change and being easily bored. Needing novelty, definitely. Yeah,
they're both quite free spirits, both of them.
Yeah, they are.
Mm-hmm. How have they shaped your own understanding of your purpose and creativity? And
yeah, I think that the interesting thing is I really never put being a parent so much at the center of my being. It was more like, I'm Nadja and I have children and I share my life with them. It was more like living in a co-op for me often. And also this hands-off idea is like, I'm not telling you that, you need to be quiet now because I'm your mother. I tell you need to be quiet because I need some quiet. We live here together. And I have needs as well, So it was very much trying to stay myself, not just trying, achieving to stay myself while being in community with others, in community with my children. And I'm a bit, I'm mourning a bit that I didn't discover something I learned in the last few years when my children were already adults, which is nonviolent communication by Marshall Rosenberg. Because if I had known more of this, I think I would have been so much more able to communicate in this way. I think I had the intention and the hunch, but really, how do I communicate in a language of needs and feelings and take others along with me? I think I would have wanted to learn that earlier, but that was not the question. You said what I learned. Just being me while being in community with others. I think that's, I'm gonna stick with that.
It's interesting that you said I have needs too, that you felt that so strongly, because that's practically taboo for a mum. You have women who at the age of 50 or whatever said, oh gosh, I do have needs and I haven't paid attention to them because there's this whole, and you were very clear about that. I think that's why also your children have healthy boundaries, because it's
yes, probably. And I was not so much aware, but I was always able to stay true to myself and also take care of my needs. Not always, of course. I think being a parent and being a working person, it just brings you to your limits, right? I guess it's normal. But I was able to say things like, I need a few days to myself. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna leave and come back in 3-4 days. I was able to do that very, very early, and realizing I need that. And I really don't, and organizing things that other people, and especially Marcus, my partner, was eager to take care of the children and share the burden, which is not at all still something that all men do. For me, we had negotiations. I think I also learned a lot to negotiate. And when I say negotiations, I don't mean fights. I mean like, okay, so how are we going to do it this year? Because things have changed and I'm not happy with being, 70% responsible right now. I need something else. And I learned that every time something changes, there is some kind of conflict, not a confrontation, but a conflict. Oh, things have changed. Things are new. We need to talk about how we organize things now. And learning that, I think, is a very valuable skill.
You have parents in front of you, leaders, you have teams who are trying to figure out, what it means today to exist in a world that's being shaped differently. What would you advise them? What would you say?
To tell people what they should, in this age of technology, you mean, like how to be in that?
I think it comes back to something we discussed, but where is our safe place as human beings, and what should we pay attention to and focus on in order to stay,
What comes to mind is the poem by what's his name, William Ernest Henley, Invictus. Do you know this poem? It ends with, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I think it's that. I talked a lot about community and how to do things together, and I think that maybe that poem ending contradicts that on first sight, but I think it's this negotiation being, I'm an individual and I am responsible for my life and for what I want and I do and my purpose and how I thrive. That's on me. I need to do that. Nobody, no mother, father, sibling, friend can do that for you. I am the captain of my soul. But being able to be in community with others and to share, what is my vision? What is my purpose? What do I want to do? Do you want to help me? That is, that we need as well. We need both. And I think when it comes to technology is not human, so we can enlist its support, but we need humans to thrive. We need humans to achieve something, to make something beautiful, to build something from scratch. And we can enlist the help or the support of AI to make it quicker, make it better, but we need humans. Yeah, I think that's...
We have to decide quickly that we don't want AI to become more, a superpower across humans, because that's how we lose our humanity.
Exactly. We need to really realize we're humans and we need each other, and we can only solve problems being human. We can't solve the world's problems by relying on technology.
So what's the name of your new book?
It's called Playing Ping Pong with Reality. I mean, this is just the working title, but I have a strong sense that it will also be the title.
Playing Ping Pong with Reality. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's very attractive.
I like it very much. And also it's because we really like to play ping pong. So
you and Laurent, you play ping pong?
Yeah, we play a lot of ping pong. And one idea is that the book is it has a ping pong, what's it called, racket shape. Maybe let's figure it out.